Welcome back, DIY Squad. Now we've got a big project that we're going to be working on. When you walk into our house, we've got the fireplace, the TV kind of mounted above it, and it is just boring. It's just plain white, not really anything to it. But because it's such a big focal point to the area, my wife and I really want to tackle this project to really make the whole area just stand out and pop. All right, guys, so before we really start on anything, you want to make sure that you have a plan together, okay? So I've got this little draw done where I've got the front, top, and side. I begin by ripping down my sheets into the side and bottom panels of the cabinet that I'm making. One thing you may notice is that I'm using 1/2-inch plywood. 3/4 inch is a very popular size to use, but I noticed production companies using 1/2 inch, and I wanted to see if it was worth the money savings by dropping to a less thick material. I'll let you know my thoughts on this decision at the end of this video. With the side panels cut down, I need to cut a groove into the back of them. This groove will allow me to slide in the back panels. I set the groove 1/2 inch from the back of the panel to allow a board to go along the back. If it's not making sense right now, it will once you see me assembling this in just a minute. From here, I will then cut a rabbet along the bottom of the side panels. This is where the bottom of the cabinets attach. Let me show you a quick tip. If you have to make a cut that's close to your fence, do this. You can see here that the blade is actually close to the fence. When you're pushing wood through it, this blade may actually slightly bend, kind of move around a little bit, and it'll end up hitting your fence. We don't want to mess up our fence. So here's what you can do. Get yourself a sacrificial board, whether it be a piece of plywood, whatever. Clamp it on. That way you can still get close. And if there is any flex or anything in your blade, it'll end up tearing up this sacrificial board instead of tearing up your fence. To cut the rabbet along the bottom, I'm having to run the panels across my table saw. I adjust the fence 1/8 of an inch and continue running the panels, working my way up until my rabbets are the right width. Once done, if you have any cleanup that the blade didn't hit, just take a chisel and you can easily clean up any missed pieces. Now that we've got our side panels completed, where we've cut out our rabbet, we've cut out our groove, there's one last thing I want to do, and that's drilling the holes for the shelf pins. Now Craig has this nice jig that I'm using to drill my holes for the adjustable shelves. It's way easier to do this now than when it's all put together. And I almost forgot. These strips I'm cutting down are for the tops of the cabinet as well. Now, let's get the boxes assembled. I simply start by adding glue to the rabbets and setting them in the bottom panel of the cabinet. I use the clamps to help me hold them in place because doing glue ups by yourself can be fun sometimes. That board you see me put across the center there is only there to help me keep it square. It also happens to be the board I used for the top of the cabinet. Since it's the same length, it'll help keep everything square. Once set, I pin nail them in place. Those 1/4 inch grooves I cut in, yeah, this is what they're for. I slide in the back panel of the cabinet in those grooves. This will also help me in squaring up the cabinets. I then add these back ledger boards that will sit flush with the cabinet. This is why I cut that groove 1/2 inch in from the back. These not only add stability, but provide me a way to attach them to the wall. I use a construction screw to attach them from the outside. You could get away with using pocket holes if you don't want to attach them from the outside, but you will not see the sides of these cabinets once I install them, so I am not worried at all. I then flip it on its back and attach the top of the cabinet. You could use a full sheet, but I'm just using these strips to save on plywood. I'm going to be attaching a countertop, so you'll never see any of this. I then move to knocking out the adjustable shelves. With this plywood being 1/2 inch, there's way more flex in these than I want, so I attach these wood strips to the front to help prevent this, and it also helps hide the edges and gives it a nicer look. Now to test them out. Remember how I said you won't see the side of the cabinet, so I wasn't really worried about the screws? Well, I forgot I have one side that will show, so I use some wood putty to fill them in, sand them smooth, and we move on. These will be painted, so I'm not too concerned. Before moving on, I want to finish up the insides of the cabinet now. Trust me, it's easier to do this at this stage. I sand the insides with an orbital sander. Don't go too heavy on this or you will quickly sand through the top veneer. Ask me how I know. I then apply this wipe-on polyurethane. Done. All right, everybody, so we finished building the carcasses to the cabinets. Now we got to throw on the face frames. I start by ripping down these poplar boards into 2-inch strips. I choose poplar since it's easy to work with and it's a great paint grade wood. I measure the length of my rails, and ideally they should all be the same length unless you mess up in making your cabinet boxes. I then cut my rails down to their final size. You can't really see it here, but I did set up a block on the other side of my miter saw, so I don't have to individually measure each one of these for the cut. All right, so at this point we have cut all of our stiles. That's this stack right here. This will be the styles for all of the cabinets. Now we got to focus on cutting the rails. Another woodworker do it this way because he doesn't really like math, and I don't like math either, so let's see how it works. What he did, measured it across, 31 and 7/8. He took the two styles that he had, one for the left, one for the right, threw the rail on like this, and then just measured 31 and 7/8.
Once I have the styles now cut down, I assemble the frame using a pocket hole jig. I recommend clamping these down as they do tend to move slightly when you try to throw a screw in them. To attach the face frames, I'm also using pocket holes. With the one cabinet that has an exposed side, instead of using pocket holes, I will use a brad nail to help hold the face frames on as the glue dries. There is one item I haven't addressed yet, the toe kick.
When it comes to cabinet making, there's a couple ways that you can make your toe kick. Your toe kick is just this cutout that's right here. Now there's a couple ways that you could do this. My personal favorite, I make the toe kick separate. Some YouTubers will just take the notch out here on the side panels. I don't like doing it, so what I end up doing is I rip down more plywood and actually just make a box and set the cabinets on top. The reason I do this is because I find that it's a lot easier to build the toe kicks and just set them in, get them all leveled, and then just set the cabinets right on top. All right, everybody, so now that we got the cabinet squared away, it's time to make some doors. Now, there are plenty of ways to make these doors. If you've got a router table, you can go ahead and use the router. If you got a table saw, you could do it with a table saw. There's plenty of ways to do it. My favorite way of doing this is actually with the table saw, and I'm going to show you how we do that.
I am making shaker-style doors for these cabinets. I start out by cutting down the lengths of my rails and stiles. I like to cut my mortise and tenons on the edges of these wide boards and then cut them in half later. I feel they are way easier to handle on the table saw when I do it in this manner. I then spend some time setting the right height for the blade to begin cutting these mortises in both the rails and the stiles. My mortise needs to be 1/4 of an inch wide, with my blade being 1/8 of an inch. I need to put my fence in a position that the blade runs just next to the center of the board. I then flip the board around to hit the other side of that center line, and it gives me that 1/4 of an inch I need. I then rotate the board to add my mortise to the other side as well. See how much easier this is to handle when I leave them as wide planks? At this point, I have all the tenons cut. I can set the rails aside for now and finish up the stiles to finish these mortises. You're going to want your blade to just barely kiss this mortise you already cut in. I set my table saw up with the scrap board attached to the fence. This is set to score my first cut 1/2 inch in from the edge of the board. I then start walking the board away from the fence with each pass to start taking material away. Of course, there's always a little bit of cleanup to do. Now that the joinery portion is complete, let's rip these rails and stiles down to their correct width.
So now that we've got all of our rails and stiles cut, you can see them all lined up right here. We now have to get our center panels taken care of. So it's pretty easy. This is what we're going to end up doing. So we've got our panels all cut up to size. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut some grooves in them. So what I mean by that is we're basically going to go around the edge and we're going to put this groove in here. The reason is because we cut this in here at 1/4 of an inch deep, where these are 1/2 inch pieces of plywood. So the idea behind that is they will slide in just like this. So on the top, you'll still have your reveal, but when you flip it over, it'll end up being flush with the back.
Yes, I am using plywood for the panels since I am just painting them. Now I'm going to cut the groove in these boards a little different than how I did it on the rails and stiles. I'm planning on using the router. The problem with the router though, you can get a lot of chip out on plywood. So to combat this, I'm running a score line, so to speak, removing 1/8 of an inch on the table saw, then I'm using the router to remove the rest. To me, this is a lot faster than doing 100 passes over the table saw on all 4 sides of each one of these panels. Then, of course, sanding. Now it's time to glue up. Make sure to only glue the tenons. You do not want to glue the center panel, as this is actually supposed to be floating. I also have this fun little tip that you can do to help keep the panels centered. There are these little rubber balls that go in the grooves on your rails and stiles that help keep pressure on the center panel to keep it centered. These aren't always needed, but it's a nice assurance to make sure that the panels don't move around over time. Now that the panels are glued up, I pull out another jig by Craig. I'm not sponsored, by the way, they just have cool jigs. I'm using European style hinges for these doors, and this jig makes it extremely easy to get perfect, repeatable holes every time. What is nice about most of these hinges is the adjustability of them, so you can get them dialed in perfectly.
Now that we got the cabinets built, I'm gonna go install them. All right, now if you guys remember, we built the toe kick separate from the cabinets. Now the reason I do this is so that I can put this in and I can level it to the floor. It's a lot easier to level this and then just set the cabinets on top and just know that they are level.
You might be wondering what that PVC pipe is there for. I address this in the next video, but bottom line up front, this pipe goes behind the fireplace to the set of cabinets I'm installing on the other side. This gives me a way to feed wires if I ever need to run cables across the two cabinets in the future. It might be pointless now, but it's a simple assurance for the future if something ever comes up.
Now that we've got the cabinets in, they're not screwed into the wall, they're not officially installed, I guess you could say, we need to do a couple things. I left an 1.5 inch gap here on the side. I'm gonna go cut myself a piece that'll fit in here, and then I'm gonna scribe it to the wall so that if there is any like waves or anything going in here, I'll be able to cut it in there. It'll be smooth, it'll be tight to the wall, it'll look great. Now, also the reason I did that gap, when you open the door, it stops before it hits the wall. Now, if I push this flush up against the wall, the door may hit it. Also remember there's gonna be some molding down here at the bottom and it may hit that too.
I'm now connecting the two cabinets together through the face frames. This helps hold the front of the cabinets tight together. Now, the reason I put the screw right there is that I can now hide it with the hardware. Now I just find the studs in the walls and I use a construction screw to secure them in place. Moving on to painting. I prime the cabinets first and move on to painting. Here's a tip to get a great finish. Don't use cheap paint. Fork out the money for quality paint, and after you roll it on, take a nice paintbrush and lightly glide it across the paint. This will remove the texture left by the roller, and if you did get quality paint, those lines that are left from the paintbrush will actually just bleed together and make it smooth. Now to paint these doors, I'm using primer from a can. It's easier than painting it on and faster in my opinion. I use gray primer as it helps me see any imperfections that I can fix now before painting them.
All right, everybody, time to do some fun stuff today. So after watching a couple episodes of Dexter, I was able to figure out how to kind of make myself a kill room. Not to his level, but you know what, whatever. What we're doing in here is we're actually gonna be spraying our doors.
I'm using a Graco paint sprayer for this, just like I did in my previous video where I built modern frames for some canvas prints. If you haven't seen it, you should check that video out. After you watch this one, of course. Once they are painted, I attach them to the cabinets and finish the final touches. Ignore the countertop that you see on there right now. I ran with an idea that I think looked horrible and decided to do something different.
So previously I was getting frustrated with the countertops. I didn't think they looked good, so I kept sanding them, restaining them with something else, sanding, restain. Ended up chewing through the veneer and I was just at a loss. I was frustrated, but I found something. I was at the home center and I found this butcher block here. It's got a good tone to it. It looks great. So I'm going to just bite the bullet and toss the countertops that we already built and throw that in instead.
Now this butcher block was easy to work with. I cut them down to size, gave them a nice chamfer, stained and lacquered them for the finish. To install them, I simply threw in a screw from the bottom of the cabinet.
All right, so the cabinets are done. At the beginning of the video, I did tell you that I was gonna let you know my thoughts on using a 1/2 inch plywood versus 3/4 inch plywood. Plain and simple, I'm probably gonna go back to using 3/4 inch plywood. The 1/2 inch plywood was easier to use as far as like moving it around and stuff, it was lighter. But the problem that I ran into it was harder to put together. So when it came to the joinery using 1/2-inch plywood, I couldn't go as deep in my grooves and my dados. So it was just harder to put together, and it felt a little more flimsy as I was assembling it. They're still pretty strong, still pretty stout, and they're doing great. They're holding up just fine. Really, the cost savings between 3/4 of an inch to a 1/2-inch plywood, it's not that drastic. Where I think the ease of the build and just peace of mind and just more structure to the build itself, I'm gonna switch back to 3/4 of an inch. So I know this was a shorter video compared to some others when it comes to cabinet making. If you like that, just go ahead and let me know. If you would prefer me to do longer content where I go a little bit more in depth and maybe push that 30-minute mark, let me know below. If you like what you saw here and you're new to this channel, make sure that you like and subscribe down below. Helps support this channel and helps me continue to bring you fresh new products.